need to know anything because you're about to meet Daryl McDaniels, who, when I first met him, I could not believe the energy and the knowledge.
Hey y'all, what's up? If you love comics, make some noise! Say Stan Lee!
Stan Lee!
Say Stan Lee!
Stan Lee!
That's the place to be!
Place to be!
Say Stan Lee!
Stan Lee!
Glad to be here, y'all.
I'll give it a chance. And once I heard it, I was what many people would call a metal poser. I could not believe how much I loved it and still loved it. I still love it. I mean, the dude is amazing. I met him for the first time during the show this year, and I couldn't be more honored to moderate this panel. So we're going to ask him questions. This is a new app, I guess, right? This is a new app, and people have sent in questions from the world, which I agree with. So what's up with comics? What is your inspiration?
Well, before music, before hip-hop came over the bridge and changed my life, before AM radio, listening to the Doobie Brothers and Bob Dylan and Jim Croce and Harry Chapin and the Beatles and the Stones, my total existence was comic books. And I was a little shy kid that stayed in a house, straight A student, 5 or 6 stars on a forehead, always on a honor roll. I went to Catholic school my whole life. So when I wasn't in school, I had to keep myself busy. And my whole existence was comic books. And when I got into music, I mean, you might not believe this, I never wanted to get up on stage in front of people. But
he was nervous before he came up on stage.
yeah, just now. But the thing that gives me confidence to come up here is all the inspiration, motivation, courage, confidence, and education that I got from those comic books, Marvel comic books in DC as a little kid. In Europe, here in the States, for 30 years, then about a year ago it happened again. And you know, with the success of all the movies and stuff, you got a lot of people that's getting into superheroes that never touched a comic book. That's like saying you're a DJ and never touched a turntable. But to make a long story short, I sat back and I said, why don't these hip-hop comic books ever be successful? And then it hit me. You don't make a hip-hop comic book, you make a comic book. This comic book isn't a hip-hop comic book. It's more of a tribute and a celebration of everything that makes comic book culture enjoyable. So when my friend Ed right here and my other friend Riggs Morales said, D, if anybody could do it the right way, you should do it. First and foremost, even though DMC is a superhero, this isn't a DMC hip-hop comic book, it's a comic book. If you make a comic book, whatever it is that you want to put in there, always do it with integrity and have respect to the audience because it's about them first. Crime, I wasn't selling no drugs. So when people started to buy turntables, me and my brother had a little problem. We didn't have no money. And I remember it was the day, I think it was like maybe 10, 11 years old, my brother comes in my room and he goes, Daryl. And he gives me this look. And by the look on his face, I knew what he was going to say. He says, we have to do a comic book sale so we could raise money to buy 2 turntables, a mixer, some records, and a microphone. So we did this huge comic book sale. We sold massive editions and books from the comic book collection. But the funny thing is, when I go to my brother's house now, he got all the ones that he wanted to keep for himself. So he sold all of mine. So we sold our comic books about 2 turntables and a mixer and a microphone. And fortunately, it worked out okay for me.
Do they have to give you royalties for life?
Unfortunately, Aerosmith doesn't have to give us royalties because they wrote the song. Like, people think this is a tongue twister. Walk This Way wasn't the first rock rap record. The first rock rap record was Rock Box, which was the first rap video on MTV. Then we did a record called The King of Rock. Then we did Walk This Way. Walk This Way originally was just going to be sampled. It was going to be me and Run sampling the beat. And it was just going to be me and Run. It would be like DMC and a place to be. I've been rhyming on the mic since '83. The best MC in history. There will never be an MC better than me. Booga booga. I'm DJ Ron and I'm number one. But it was Rick Rubin, who, by the way, you look like an older Rick Rubin. It was Rick Rubin who said, y'all should do the record over as is. So when we did the record over, me and Ron didn't have to play nothing. We didn't have to write anything because they own all the publishing. They own it. But I do make a nice amount of money when I go around by myself and sing it for people. But we don't get no royalties off the rights. You can tell them knock that wall down. That really happened in the world. I was like, what do you mean? It was just a he said, no. It really happened in the world. It knocked down the wall of separation between rock and roll and hip hop and black people and white people and all these preconceived notions about how different we are. And even Ed could even add on to this. People are looking at DMC doing this comic book, like here's a hip hop guy doing this comic book. Before hip hop even existed, everybody from New York City, people in Europe, people in Asia, there was always a connection of comic books and music. But symbolically, what happened in the Walk This Way video, people tell me, critics, writers, and journalists that in the world that really happened. That's why Run DMC was able to do Walk This Way over. Run DMC was able to tour with the Beastie Boys. Kid Rock said, because of Walk This Way and Aerosmith and King of Rock and Rock Box, Kid Rock said this, he said, Run DMC and Aerosmith had a baby and I popped out.
But it's actually something really amazing because it brings up the conversation that me, Riggs, and you had each other why we decided to do this, because at first, Daryl always loved comic books, and a lot of people don't know that, but there are Easter eggs throughout a lot of Run DMC's lyrics. Like in King of Rock, when DJ Run says, I'm DJ Run, I can scratch, DMC didn't say, I'm DMC, I can rhyme, I'm DMC, I'm an MC, he said, I'm DMC, I can draw. So that was always part of his identity. But he still had a little trepidation when he came to the idea of actually starting his own publishing company and also getting into comics. And I told him, I said, D, really? What happened when you picked up your Superstar 2 Adidas sneaker in that stadium that day? What did everybody do in that audience? Over 50,000 people held their sneaker up, and that led to the first endorsement by a sneaker company, Adidas, to a non-athletic group, and that was Run DMC. And I said, what did you do? And that's true, right? And we just talked about that. What did Aerosmith coming together Run DMC? That actually increased the entire demographic of hip hop, and it became a global phenomenon, not just a black culture, not just a New York City culture, but a worldwide culture. So I said, so what do you think is going to happen when we get into comic books? When you get into comic books?
I'm going to hold the comic book up, and everybody that loves comic books is going to hold their comic books. See, DMC also made devastated mic controller doing mine in school. So we sitting there saying we're going to do this comic book. And this is the funniest thing ever.
First of all, I said, we're going to do this comic. I finally convinced them we're going to do this comic. Finally convinced them. And I said, okay, if we're going to do this, we can't go to Marvel, we can't go to DC, we have to do this ourselves so we can own our own intellectual property and also decide creatively where this universe and character goes. So I said, okay, so now that I finally convinced you to do this, what are we going to call our company?
I sat there and it was like writing a rhyme. I was like, Daryl makes comics. DMC, what else could it be?
Come up with your sick beats because he's one talented motherfucker. That's how he does it.
And I gotta add to you because you said you was a metalhead.
Yeah.
And one thing that we did as young people, when it came to sampling music, even though people was like, hip hop, rap ain't real because they don't make their own music, The one thing that we did as young people, if we did sample an artist, we did our homework. We learned about the music we was using. We learned about the artists. If we sampled the Beatles, we picked up a book and we read about who they were. If we sampled Parliament Funkadelic, we learned about who they were. If we sampled jazz, if we sampled folk music, if we sampled Johnny Cash, whatever you do artistically and creatively, a lot of it does come from other places and a lot of it has been done before. But the most powerful thing that you can do as a creative person is learn about the things that you're utilizing, because that's what makes the whole genre of culture even stronger. This was the time period, but the old school consciousness is a culture. It's something that will last forever. You don't go to Stan Lee and say, Stan Lee, how did you used to make comics? It's something that you live.
I'm a huge downer. I've never met someone who is so inspiring and so positive. And I think you put out such a fucking great message. And just doing this book alone, like I read it, people should pick it up. You should pick it up, and it should continue. Like it should continue, you know.
And if I can get that from a comic book man, then it will continue.
I want to say one thing about the cover, because this is something that's important. If you're a true comic book head and you know your comic book history, then you know the name and the significance of someone like Sal Buscema. And Sal Buscema was an artist that defined DMC's childhood, drawing everything from the Avengers to Captain America.
Hallelujah!
And we tracked Sal Buscema down, and Sal Buscema actually blessed us, and this is actually an original Sal Buscema cover. And we actually incorporated some wild style graffiti in here as well. So if you know your stuff, it's all about an homage to comic book culture, and that's why we're here at Comikaze, because we're giving it back to those that gave it to us.
Nice.
All right, people, I give you DMC, the King of Rock.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.